Imagine a global conflict that ends not with a peace treaty, but with a permanent tax on the global economy, levied every time a cargo ship moves through open water. In early 2026, the United States and Israel launched a series of intense, devastating military strikes against Iran. In response, Tehran shifted the battlefield. Rather than strictly trading missile fire, they directed their retaliation at the arteries of global commerce. This animated map shows the geographic center of this economic warfare. Right at the mouth of the Persian Gulf sits a 21-mile-wide bottleneck known as the Strait of Hormuz. Through this single narrow waterway, 20% of the world's oil and liquid natural gas must pass. Moving that sheer volume of energy requires massive vessels called very large crude carriers, transporting roughly 20 million barrels of crude every single day. Following the initial US and Israeli strikes, the Iranian military established a blockade. They attacked maritime traffic and effectively collapsed the transit route. The physical supply of oil immediately dried up, driving crude prices past $112 a barrel. That sudden price shock rippled outward within days. International shipping lanes became paralyzed, aviation fuel costs surged, and financial analysts began warning of a worldwide recession driven entirely by energy inflation. By inflicting this level of economic pain, the traditional metrics of military superpower status lose their leverage. The United States has the superior military force, but by suffocating the global energy supply, Iran captured the power to dictate terms. Geopolitical leverage is relatively simple. When a nation holds physical control over a critical global trade route, they wield raw economic power over everyone who relies on it. Iran's leadership recognized that starving the world of energy inflicts far more systemic, long-lasting damage than any conventional military retaliation against the US and Israel ever could. Armed with that leverage, Tehran presented a multi-point list of peace demands to regional mediators. They established strict conditions that would need to be met before they allowed global trade to resume. The driving force behind these demands is Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who immediately signaled the establishment of a new regime to govern the Strait of Hormuz. At the top of that list is a demand for international recognition of Iran's absolute sovereignty and regulatory control over the strait. Tehran's goal is to convert their naval presence into a permanent revenue stream, using their authority over the water to bypass Western sanctions entirely. The proposed toll system is highly systematic. Iranian lawmakers drafted a framework requiring any country using the strait to transport fuel and goods to pay a direct tax to Tehran for safe passage. This chart visualizes the staggering math behind the proposal. At a reported fee of $2 million per tanker, the toll stacks up rapidly. From oil and natural gas alone, it generates between $600 to $800 million every single month. To put that figure in perspective, that monthly revenue matches, and in some cases exceeds, the income generated by Egypt's Suez Canal, one of the most established artificial waterways on Earth. Under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, the right of transit passage applies to all nations. Charging tariffs on an international strait is widely condemned as illegal by the global community. But international law requires enforcement, and right now, the legal framework is failing. The global desperation for affordable oil is forcing legal principles to take a back seat to raw economic leverage. Tanker operators are already reportedly quietly paying for safe passage. This toll acts as a permanent billion-dollar economic lifeline for Iran. It effectively neutralizes decades of United States financial controls, turning a geographic bottleneck into a state-sponsored monopoly. Allowing a single nation to tax a major shipping lane establishes a dangerous precedent. Access to the world's most critical transit corridors is now tethered directly to a nation's specific political demands. This leaves major importers highly exposed. China, for instance, relies heavily on Gulf oil. A permanent toll system directly threatens their national energy security and drives up the cost of manufacturing across the board. For the United States, the situation presents an impossible dilemma. Washington must either escalate a costly, unpredictable war to forcefully open the strait, or concede to the ransom to prevent a global economic depression. This blockade shifted the focus of the war from military destruction to economic endurance. By holding the world's energy supply, Iran achieved terms that traditional combat could not have forced. The disruption in the Persian Gulf revealed a structural weakness in global trade. A single 21-mile waterway became a lever capable of destabilizing the world's most powerful economies.